You see, here is the the big sad thing today. They have brought out already the facsimile edition of Beethoven's handwriting of the full score of the Emperor Concerto. And in that first measure, Beethoven puts a huge figure 5 above the bass. And if you know what that means the pianist is supposed to play that first chord. How many pianists do you know who play anything during the first measure of the Emperor Concerto? They don't do it because they got this completely wrong idea that a concerto means a boxing match between a conductor and the pianist. It's absolutely ridiculous. The pianist is a member of the orchestra, so when the orchestra plays that first chord, so-called orchestra, then the pianist plays both in the right hand and in the left hand. The pianist plays a B flat. Now, if you want to look carefully at the orchestration of Beethoven, are there any B flats in the instruments? Not one. So the minute you don't play the B flats on the piano, you do something different than what Beethoven wrote.
Right.
I'll go one step further. In the fifth Brandenburg Concerto of Bach, we have two different versions of the piano part, written out by Johann Sebastian Bach. One is an early version, the other one, the one dedicated, is a more elaborate one. Well, in the first one, you definitely have, because it's in D major. So the only person playing that A, which is the fifth, is the pianist. Bach too orchestrates his orchestra exactly the way Beethoven did, with no fifth in the harmony. He gives the fifth to the basso continuo.
Wow.
It's just absolutely amazing. You think what's the common thread between the opening of the Emperor Concerto and the fifth what is it? Brandenburg Concerto of Bach.
Oh, this is not the manuscript. This is the first version.
Well, you see there, you don't have this is just the orchestral thing, but you don't have, this is not
Yeah.
the solo part. Bach wrote up the solo part, and he in the solo part he put in those notes that are not there in you see. So that's again, this is typical thing. You show me something, but that's not all what Bach wrote. There are important things missing in the Brandenburg Concerto and missing in the Emperor Concerto.
So, Professor Zaz, if a new student comes to you who is not great pianist but doesn't know about basso continuo, how would you suggest they learn basso continuo?
Yes. Well, I'll start with the bad news. Okay. I have for 30 years now tried to teach different students how to do basso continuo. And some of them eventually learned what notes to play, what would be the right way to improvise or that basso continuo, or if necessary, even to write it down and have something, to guide you. And the minute you hear them, either with a second piano or with an orchestra, try to play basso continuo, you know what happens? It doesn't work. And you know why it doesn't work? Because these people have no chamber music or ensemble experience. And if you don't have ensemble experience, you better not play basso continuo, because you can immediately tell that what you are doing there, you play the notes, but it has no connection with the orchestra, so-called orchestra, because you should be a member of the orchestra. And this is the problem. People don't understand that in a concerto or in a symphony, and I mean symphony, I mean there we have the Haydn symphonies, there was always a pianist involved. You had a job. You had a paid job, so to speak. Today we have nothing. We don't get paid for being a member of an orchestra. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody hired me to continue in the symphonies of Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven?
So you're saying in even like Mozart G minor symphony or the famous ones, there would be somebody on a forte piano playing basso continuo.
Well, that was a norm. I mean, when uh, let me give you a historic thing, and this puts a question very clearly in focus. And the question is, if you look at the piano concerti of Beethoven, you find that he has almost nothing in the scores in the first, second, third, and fourth piano concerto to tell you that you're supposed to play basso continuo. And suddenly, when you have the fifth piano concerto, he writes out every little single detail, when to play with the violoncelli, when to play with just the double bass, when you play with both of them, when not to play at all, what to do, the whole detail. Now, you tell me, what kind of thing is this? Because unfortunately, there are some very bad things that were written on basso continuo. And the worst of what was written there comes from Paul Badura Skoda, who made, at the end of his chapter on basso continuo playing, he said something, I paraphrase now, I mean the printed words are there. He basically said, if the orchestra is good and the conductor is excellent, then you don't play basso continuo. Wow.
And he was a very influential musicologist performer.
That is the problem. He was so influential, and I'll tell you how influential he was. In the early recordings of Alfred Brendel, he was playing basso continuo. And then comes out this book, and he stopped playing basso continuo.
Because if you do that, you're not
Because if you do
accurate.
that, you
You're
are the
just
conductor, you are no good. That's why I
wow.
need to play the basso continuo, because you're no good.
Wow. That's huge. I mean, that's enormous. The implications for that for classical performance. I mean, just take that
Well,
out.
I'm lucky I have had a few conductors with whom I played the Haydn and Mozart concerti. And I was supposed to play a Beethoven concerto too. I can tell the story of that too. And in the beginning, all the conductors said there is no such thing, basso continuo, And then I just said, let's try it. Let's see how it works. And after I played that, they said,
Sounds
that's all
good.
right. That's all
Oh wow, it sounds
you know.
good.
And and in fact, I got one letter from one conductor who said afterwards, it's so funny that now I'm missing the basso
That's
continuo.
what CPE Bach said, right? In his treatise. He said if
Yes,
you if
he
it's not
said
there, you notice it.
exactly, when it's not there, you notice that something is missing.
And you have a fantastic recording on your YouTube channel. I just want people to go to where you talk about you play a Mozart. Which one is it? It's a Rondo by
Rondo.
Mozart,
I
and
played that as a little boy. I
and
started my career with that.
people can go online and see many different people play the mainstream way of playing it, which is,
Yeah.
but when you hear your performance with the basso continuo, it just feels like that a missing piece of the band is finally joined in, and it feels full again. And honestly, I
Yeah.
can't hear the original mainstream way of playing it, because I was, where's the basso continuo? It's missing. So
Yeah.
I think people should really check that out. I'll put that in the link in the description. But yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, it's absolutely true. Can I ask you a question then? Um, the concerto for Beethoven, I mean, are we talking about even his symphonies? Eroica, Symphony
That
5?
that that is a question which uh, one Australian ensemble decided they are going to record all the Beethoven concertos with basso continuo.
Mm.
Okay, and then of course the question became, shall we also record Beethoven symphonies? And
Mm.
here is the thing. Uh,
Well, what's the
I,
order of their
I need to
publication?
tell
Were they
you.
around
I
the
need to
same time?
tell you. Yeah, I need to tell you about why Beethoven suddenly writes so many details about the fifth piano concerto, because
Tell
most
me.
people don't. Okay, this is very important. So here is Beethoven doing a big concert, performing his fourth piano concerto and the fantasy for piano and orchestra and voices, Opus 80. And the concerto goes okay, and then comes this fantasy for piano, orchestra, and voices. And at some point in the music, Beethoven switches from a normal four measure periods to three measure periods. And then something happened, and the thing started falling apart. And there are plenty of um, people who wrote about this. Imagine that even though Beethoven was already somewhat deaf, but he realized that the ensemble is not working together. So he jumped up from the piano, and there were then there, where they didn't have electricity, so they had two boys holding candles, and he started waving with his arms, and he knocked both of those boys, and they fell to the floor. And then the whole audience started roaring with laughter. And he at that point, he must have decided, never again shall I play my own concerto in public. So that's why suddenly he decided in the fifth piano concerto, he must delegate everything. He must delegate the cadenza, he must delegate the eingänge, he must delegate the ornamentation, he must delegate the basso continuo. And he wrote all that into the manuscript.
Incredible. Wow.
You know, music, and by the way, I attended at that conference honoring Malcolm Frager. uh, I met a gentleman who gave a paper called 200 Years of Terrible Cadenzas for Mozart's Piano Concertos. And, what is he talking about? Well, the man really went through all the libraries imaginable, and he tried to find some kind of cadenza that was written in a style that would be fitting for a
Mhm.
Mozart concerto. And he couldn't find a single cadenza. He I talked to him. He told me, I think I uncovered something uh, like hundreds, if not thousands, of cadenzas, and they're all absolutely crazy.
Were they
And
like
then
romantic, very.
they were romantic, and there was even one cadenza which was like a 12th in a 12th tone style. You know? So uh, yes,
nothing
so
nothing fitting for
nothing
of that
fitting, not
period of that. Interesting.
absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing fitting.
Did Hummel didn't write any condensers or
Well, he did, and that is then the thing is that by the time Hummel came along, already the style of the mainstream music has changed.
Mm.
So Hummel's piano writing was less restrained than Mozart's. Mozart is basically a composer who was able to make a point with the fewest numbers of notes. When you go beyond him, notes start multiplying themselves. Yes.
The emperor would not have. I mean, the emperor said too many notes to Mozart. So imagine what emperor would not have liked what came up next.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
yes,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No. Go ahead. You're
Oh,
finishing a
I
thought.
was just going to point out that the in the beginning of the Emperor Concerto, there's a beautiful thing about performance practice. So here you have the first course, every orchestra, and of course pianist also is part of the orchestra. So everybody plays. Then you have these arpeggios, and then you come to the subdominant. And what did Beethoven do in the subdominant? He plays the chord, then he puts rests. But what does he put under the chord? He says pedal. In other words, he introduced this idea that a pianist does not have to hold with his hands the sounds. He can just use the pedal, and the pedal can carry the sounds through. It's the typical romantic pedal use. It was introduced by Beethoven.
Hmm. Wow. I mean, this is
Because they, yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
incredible.
it's incredible. Yes. Well, anyway, if I'm just teaching right now a student who is doing Mozart C major Köchel number 467 concerto,
Mhm.
and we just looked at the handwriting, and we found out that Mozart did not miss any single time where the basso continuo had to be played. He wrote it in very clearly: call B and then B double dot, and double dots back then meant an abbreviation. So call B meant call basso, and you were supposed to play it, even though in the piano part itself there are no notes, because that was a time-saving device. The composer only wrote out the string bass,
Mhm.
and then he put in the piano part call B and double dot, and that meant, of course, I don't want to have to write out twice the same notes, so
Yeah.
I'll just put it in the strings. And by the way, I discovered one document of Mozart where he didn't put the bass notes into the string part. He put it in the piano part, and then he wrote to the strings call that you play with the piano. Yes.
Wow, a
So there
reverse.
you tell, you know,